Hello everybody and welcome to Jewell Family Farms. Today we're going to be making an apple pie. Alright. Okay, we got 1.5 cups of flour in here. I showed you how to make this pie dough yesterday in the pumpkin pie video that I made. So this is 1.5 cups of plain flour, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to cut up 1/2 stick of butter. Let me give this a little zizz right quick. Mix it up some. Then we're going to put in 1/2 stick of butter. Your butter has to be really cold. I just took this out of the refrigerator. Hit the pulse button 4 times. Then we're going to get some vegetable shortening, whatever brand you choose to use. You need 1/4 of a cup of that. Put that in like little dollops. Then we're going to add, let's pulse it 4 times. Add 1/4 of a cup of ice cold water. 1/4 of a cup. And we're going to pour that in as we turn the mixer on. So if you want to check your volume, because this is going to be loud, I haven't figured out how to not have the volume on when I'm making the videos, so that's a work in progress. So you might want to turn your volume down right now. I'll give you a second. Big clump on one side of your mixer, then it's ready. It's done. Done mixing. Okay, so you just take this out. I have a piece of saran wrap over here. Take this little thing out because I have cut myself when I'm trying to get my dough out, so I'm going to take this out first. And then just got a piece of saran wrap right here that I'm laying this on. Just kind of make it in a ball. See, again, I'll show you how nice that is. Okay, so just lay it in a ball. Don't work it, you know, other than just to kind of get it in a little ball. And then just cover it up. And you're going to stick this in the, depending on how long it takes you to peel apples, I'm going to stick it in the freezer because I can peel apples pretty fast and it won't freeze up, but it'll keep it really good and cold for when I'm ready to work with it in a few minutes. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to wash our apples really good. A little bit about apples. These are Gala apples or Fuji, I can't remember which one. But usually I do a Granny Smith with either a Fuji, a Gala, or a Honey Crisp. The Granny Smith apples, they hold their form. Let me put this on. The Granny Smith apples, they hold their form better, and they don't cook up in the pie, whereas the Gala and the Fuji, they'll cook up a little bit. So you kind of have like a mixture of apple in your pie, which really gives it a good taste. You can use mostly any apples that you want. Make sure that it's either a bacon apple or a Granny Smith apple. But it really makes the pies taste good when you mix and match your apples. So that's what I usually do. I didn't do it today because I just grabbed a bag when I was out at the store the other day, and it was I think these are Gala apples, but they make a good pie too. And for just our use here at the house, I just bought this one bag. But if I was out at farmers market selling my apple pies like I usually do, or I used to do, I mix the apples with a Granny Smith to make sure that it holds a firm apple in the pie. Okay, so we're going to cut our apples up. All right, so in this water, I have some ice water here. And I'm going to add some fruit fresh. You don't have to add this if you don't want to. But if you are just beginning to make apple pie and you're a little bit slow at peeling, this helps you keep your apples. This helps keep your apples from turning brown because they'll turn brown pretty fast. So I put a little bit of fruit fresh in there. You just sprinkle a little bit in there. I don't know if there's directions on here how much, but I just sprinkle some in. Just swoosh it around a little bit. All right, so I'm going to throw my apples in there as soon as I peel them. So all you do is you just cut off the top of your apples and you just start peeling. Uh-oh, I broke my apple peel. We used to, try not to break our apple peel and have one big string. It was just a game we used to do with when we were peeling apples, when we were canning apples or whatever, making applesauce, and we'd peel the apples, and we try not to break the peel. But anyway, I cut them in little, about that size. Cut the core out. Another way you can cut the core out, if I can remember how to do it, is just to cut it on its side like that, and it cuts the core off. It's a little bit more difficult for me, but you do it the way you want. And so we're just going to peel all these apples. This apple here is really soft. It might cook up more than what I want it to, but it'll cook fast, so I won't have to cook it as long, the pie. A Granny Smith apple takes longer to cook, to get soft. A lot of times I'll cook it on the stove and then fill my pie shells, just to make it go faster. You just cut the core out. I'm going to leave these a little bit bigger chunks. If I was doing Granny Smith, I would cut them like this. But since this is already a soft apple, I'm leaving it in a bigger chunk. I'm going to eat that. All right. I'll come back when I get all my apples peeled. Okay, so I've peeled about 7 apples here. And I think that I'm using this big pie pan, so I want a lot of apples in it. I don't know what size this is. If I can see it. It's a 9x5. And so almost a 10-inch pie. So I've peeled 7 apples. And I think that should fill the pie up pretty good. I want a nice big fat pie. Now if you're doing a, according to what size your pan is and it can hold is how many apples you would peel. But I think I peeled I think it was 7 apples that I peeled here. Good, good size apples. All right. So I'm going to give this to the pigs. They're going to love this. Have my pig bucket here. Gonna be in pig heaven today. Okay, so I got 7 apples, peeled, cored, and chopped into, or cut into fairly good size. Like I said before, if you're going to use Granny Smith, you could probably cut this in half because it takes Granny Smith apples a little bit longer to cook. This is a really soft apple, so it'll cook up really fast. So it won't be in the oven as long, mostly just to get the crust good and brown, and the apples will cook it within that time, most likely. All right, so, and all you have to do is when you're checking your pie to see if it's done, you can stick like a toothpick down in it, and you can feel if the apples are tender or not. And they just need to be tender. They don't need to be cooked, you know, like to mush. You just want them to be tender and stay, you know, solid and not turn to applesauce. Okay, so to this, what I did was I mixed, let me get my little mixer thing. It calls for 2/3 cups of sugar, but what I did was I did 1/3 cup of sugar and 1/3 cup of Splenda, because I just try not to eat too much sugar, you know, as best that I can. So I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now, if you have a corn allergy, which some people do, you can use 2 tablespoons of flour instead. Alright, and this is what the cornstarch, you can use any kind of cornstarch you want, but this is one of the brands that you can get. Alright, so the next thing I want to add is some apple pie spice, and I want 1 teaspoon of apple pie spice. And I would say a heaping teaspoon. And a 1/4 teaspoon, a little bitty one, of cloves. Cloves is very strong. If you like cloves, add a little bit more. I love cloves, but I don't want it to take over my whole pie. I don't want it to taste just like cloves. And then a teaspoon of cinnamon. Not a tablespoon, a teaspoon of cinnamon, a heaping teaspoon, about like that. Alright, mix all that up, and that should be about it. Now, if you like a lot of spice in your pie, you know, you add a little bit more. I would just add maybe a 1/2 teaspoon at a time and see, you know. But that should be a plenty right there. Let's see. Yeah, I got everything. All right, so just sprinkle it over your apples. Let me get a spoon. And then just mix them up. I forgot to tell you a while ago, of course, you have to drain the water off, and you might want to rinse your apples off just a little bit because it had that fruit fresh on. Not that it'll hurt you, I mean, but you can just rinse them off a little bit if you want. Drain the water out. And just mix them up really good like that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my counter, and I'm going to wash my counter off really well because I'm getting ready to roll out my dough. I'm going to cut off half of this dough. I'm going to cut it in half. As a matter of fact, I think I'm not going to cut it in half. I'm going to give the bottom layer a little bit more. The top layer will be less. Okay? Then whatever's left over out of this, I'll put with this, and when we get ready to roll that out. I'll put this back in here. I'm going to put it back in the freezer until I'm ready to use it. I'll move it over here out of the way a little bit. All right, so now we're going to dump the apples in. Just give it Give it a good stir. So you see all the juice that's starting to come off of these apples already. Alright, dump them in. Smells good. Already, before it even cooks. I was going to show you how you could tell if you wanted to add more spices. I mean, oh, you can taste one of these apples. And you can tell if you want more spices or more sugar or whatever you want. You don't have to stick with this recipe. You can add other stuff, like you can add more spices, sugar, raisins, whatever you want to put in your pie. And then I just slice up some butter on top because I just love butter. But those apples to me were just perfect the way that I had them made here. Apple pie, you can use Splenda instead of sugar for the whole pie. You don't have to mix it, or whatever substitute sweetener that you like. You can use that. All right, that was the other half of that stick of butter that I made the crust with. So we're going to put the top on it now. Okay, we're just going to bend the top over as best we can for now. Bend it over underneath. It kind of seals it in under there so the juices don't flow out all over your oven. Just do it the best you can. It doesn't matter if it has a little tear in it or whatever. It needs a little vent hole anyway. This pan was a little bit big for this crust recipe. I'm used to using 9-inch pans, and this was almost 10. So you just, I don't know if you can see or not. You just take both of the crust and you just bend it under. Like that. You just bend it under to seal, to close it up. Alright. And I just kind of go around it with my thumbs and kind of squeeze it up to the top just so I can use it to make my scalloped edge. Just give me a little more space, a little more room to do that. All right. Those little holes help push some of the air out that's in here, so it's okay if they're there. All right, then I'm just going to start doing my little edge with my 2 fingers. You can use your thumb or any finger you want, whatever is comfortable. And I put my finger back in the second hole that I made, and then I squeeze it and just kind of take that one in and kind of squeeze it. And then I put my finger in this hole. Put my finger in this hole. Oops, messed that up. Oh well. Well, like I said, you can use a fork. You don't have to do that. You can do this. You have to get a little bit of flour on it. A little bit of flour. See, that makes a nice, that's a little bit easier to do. And you could do that. The other way is to use, like I said, you can use your 2 fingers here and just kind of push it. It makes more of a different pattern. So I don't know if you can see all these patterns on this pie, but that's how you know, there's the different ones that you can do. There's that one. So, all right. So we got quite a few holes in it already, so we still need to put a few more. Or the other thing you can do is you can put that like this. And that makes a cute little pattern. You can put whatever pattern you want in there. If you have a little cookie cutter of some kind, you can, you know, use a little cookie cutter to make a design on it. You can do it any way you want. All right, let me get some milk. And my brush. Use the rest of this milk that I used in the pumpkin pies the other day. Pour a little bit out. Don't need much. Alright, so we're just going to dip our brush in that milk. You can use egg whites, a little bit of water. You can just use water. I just use milk. In this case, this was canned cream that I used. You can just use plain milk too, or whatever milk you got. We're just going to brush that on. Get you over here. There you go. Now you can see, I think. You can use butter too if you want. Kind of brown. It just helps the crust to brown nicely. And plus I'm getting ready to put the sugar on top. Now you don't have to put sugar on it if you don't want the extra sugar. I just put it on there because it makes it look pretty. You can put it as heavy or as light as you want. Or you don't have to use it at all. Alright. My sugar granules that I use. I usually only put it around the edges because I don't want it to be over sugary, but I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle it all over it today. All right. Beautiful. All right, in the oven it goes, and we're gonna probably start this out at about 45 minutes, and then I'll check it and see if the crust is brown enough, and also if the bottom is brown enough, and if the apples are tender. So that's what we're looking for. So 400 degrees for 45 minutes to start. On your bottom rack to begin with, so that the crust on the bottom gets cooked faster, so that it doesn't make. Let me put this up here. Okay, so you want to put it on your bottom rack and cook it on there for a little while, just so your bottom crust won't be. So your bottom crust will cook faster and not turn soggy, is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. I have so many things going in my brain at once. I have a hard time talking sometimes. So anyway, that's what you want to do. And then, you know, probably in about 15, 20 minutes, put it up on a higher rack and let it finish cooking that way. All right, so we'll wait on that and be right back. Okay, so this took about 40 minutes to bake. I want you to see that little bubbling coming up out of there. That's when you know that it's done. It starts bubbling like that, because if you leave it in there too much longer, it's just going to bubble over and you're going to lose all your juice. So let me show you with the toothpick too. The toothpick will go in the apples. They're very soft. So that means your pie is done. I'm gonna let this cool for a few minutes and then we'll cut it. Okay, I think it's cool enough where we can cut it. Still pretty hot. You know what I'm having for lunch? Wish I had some ice cream. Go with it. That would be awesome. It's really tasty, I bet. Now, you can see that there's a lot of juice down in here, but once it gets cool and you know, you can put it in the refrigerator and it gets cold, then all this will set up and be part of the pie. Well, I cut it really hot, so it's not set up all the way yet. All right, let's see if I can take a bite without it burning them. Okay. It's really hot. That's just the apple. Get some of the crust here. Just like apple pie. It's really good. This will be my lunch for the day. But see, the apples, they didn't cook up into mush. They're still pretty firm. They have a little bite to them. I could never figure out how to. There. Really good. I like hot apple pie. I like it better than cold apple pie. There's what the crust looks like. That's kind of what it looks like. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this, and it's not that hard to make an apple pie. If you just do, you know, make the crust the way I showed you how to do it, it's pretty simple. And so anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the content I've been showing lately. This is just everyday cooking. Most of the time it's stuff that you already have in your pantry or at your home. And so anyway, I hope you like and subscribe and share and try this pie. It's really good. You'll really like it, and we'll see you next time, and count your blessings. Take care. Thank you for watching. Bye.